Hi, I'm Joanne Granger from Discovery College, and today I'm actually videoing in my Year 3 classroom for the purpose of demonstrating how I would store, maintain, sharpen a range of tools that we use in forest school. So I'll be showing you how I would take care of and maintain the bow saw, a pair of loppers, a bill hook, and my little tiny penknife here. Now at Discovery College we store all our tools in a trolley for ease of moving them inside and outside when we're conducting a forest school program, and we would put the tools in a watertight bag inside the trolley to protect them from any moisture. These trolleys then are wheeled into a larger storage cabinet that we lock to keep safe and out of harm's way with children on site. So why do we need to maintain and keep our tools in good condition and sharp? Well, first of all, there's the longevity factor of looking after the tools. If we look after them, then they will last longer. Also, when we're using the tools, particularly with children in mind, but for anyone using the tools, if the tools are kept sharp, then they're more enjoyable to use and also safer. So some of the materials that you will need to look after your tools is I've got just a cloth here that I use for cleaning and drying my tools, and it's also useful to use an oilcloth just to wipe down. And that helps prevent the metal from rusting, particularly in Hong Kong where the atmosphere is really humid. And then I like to use the whetstone. This one's just broken on me, but I have a replacement one here as well for sharpening the tools. So let's start with the bow saw. Now the bow saw, because of its jagged blade, it's very difficult to sharpen. So the best way of maintaining the bow saw is just to make sure that once you've finished using it, that you just clean the blade off on both sides, just getting any sawdust or soil or sand. And you can also then just lightly oil the blade as well. And then of course you would replace the guard onto the bow saw. And then put it back into the designated area. So I'm going to put that into my storage bag here. And just a couple of tips or good habits and routines as well to be thinking about is that whenever you're using your tools in the outdoors, it's always wise to have a surface to put them on alongside you when you're working. That way you're protecting the blades from getting corroded by the soil and the sand and whatever surface that you're working on. All right, so the loppers. Now again, once you've been using the loppers, you need to make sure that you have cleaned them off. And loppers actually need sharpening less often. But now and again, you'll see when you're using them that they're not working as efficiently. And this bottom surface here is a square surface. So sometimes that starts to, when you've been cutting, become less square. So you can just very easily use your whetstone just to square that bottom edge off again. And then the cutting edge is this top edge, the sharpest bit. We tend to cut at the back of the blade here. And then again with the whetstone, you just really want to follow the shape of the blade. And you can go from back to front like I'm doing here. I'm finding that a little bit easier, but you can also go in the other direction. And then this back surface is a flat surface. And again, you can just use the whetstone to just flatten that off. And then I'm going to get my oilcloth and just clean the cutting surfaces of the lopper. There we go. And just like the bow saw, we would put the protective safety cover on there. And put it back into the bag. Now, I can't remember if I've said this, but I would definitely be getting children involved in these habits and routines, so they develop an awareness of how to use the tools and also develop respect for how to use them in a safe, careful way. So moving on to the bill hook. Now the bill hook blade, we need it sharp enough to begin to split wood. This particular tool doesn't have a safety bag, but of course if there is one, then you need to make sure it goes back in that. We find that it's fine in here, and we always put it handle up. Again, you would want to make sure that you have cleaned your blade off of any dust and dirt. And if you need to sharpen it, the back of the blade is fairly flat, so that's quite easy. You can just keep that quite flat with your whetstone and follow the curve of the blade on the other side. It doesn't need to be super sharp, this one. And I'm going to use my oilcloth again just to preserve the metal from rusting. And that would then go into the designated area. So finally, some tools are very hard to source in Hong Kong for various reasons. I've just been using a little penknife for my forest tool sessions and showing children how to use these safely. So again, I would make sure that I've cleaned off the blade. This one isn't too sharp, and the back of the blade here is fairly flat. Just following the angle of the blade, and then on this side as well. Just putting it at a slight angle to maintain the sharpness of this little knife. And depending on the sharpness of your knife, if it's quite a sharp sheath knife that you're using, you would have to sharpen it quite often. And then also using the oilcloth and making sure it goes back into its container there. And this is one that I actually keep on me in my backpack and so on. So this bag now, we would lay flat in here and we would take it into our designated storage area in school. And that's how you would maintain and look after and sharpen those tools. Thank you.